Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and this is Just Genealogy. So this past Saturday, I gave a lecture on the Mexican War to the Tennessee Genealogical Society. And with my long drive home, I had lots of time to think. And one of the things I thought about was, you know what I didn't talk about? Horse claims. And I thought to myself, why don't I ever talk about horse claims when it comes to the Mexican War? There were a lot of horses in the Mexican War. So, that said, I went to my trusty working copy of Records of the Accounting Officers of the Treasury Department, Department of the Treasury, Inventory 14 Revised, Record Group 217, and looked up horse claims to see if there were horse claims from Tennessee, because there was, in fact, a regiment of cavalry, about 800 men, who served in Mexico from Tennessee. So what I found when I went back and looked, and I looked at this before, and I've looked at these records before, was in entry 640 of Record Group 217. There is registers of Mexican War horse claims, January 1847 to January 1851, 1 inch, 2 volumes. It's arranged alphabetically by claimant's surname, and registers contain entries that show the claimant's name and military unit, amount claimed, date and circumstances of loss, when and by whom presented, the date of award if claim was approved. So that's the register. So that will allow you to determine whether somebody has a horse claim or not. Entry 641 is abstract of Mexican War horse claims, 1846 to 1848, 6 volumes. And these are arranged by designation of military unit. Abstract of horse claims by members of volunteer units from Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, and Texas, showing identity of unit, claimant's name and rank, amounts claimed for loss of horses and equipment, date and circumstances of loss, date remounted, that means date they got a horseback, and date and amount of award if the claim was approved. Most of the claims were approved in the late 1850s. Now, there also is an index of docket books of horse claims beginning with the Civil War, and then docket book of horse claims beginning after the Civil War. But I'm not really talking about those right now. And along with the dockets, there's a register of horse claims beginning in 1860, which ends in 1865. And then there's an index to abstracts of horse claims from 61 to 65. Really not what I'm talking about this time. And I honestly haven't looked at the Civil War ones, but I have looked at the Mexican War ones. So an example of what I found is I found a guy in a Missouri unit whose name escapes me, of course, because this was years ago. And I found him with a stallion. And all of a sudden that stallion died. So he got his horse replaced, and his horse was replaced with a mare. And then that mare died, was shot out from underneath him. And then he ended up with a sorrel. And that sorrel ran away or something. And then he finally ends up, his final transportation, when it's all said and done, as horse claims, is mule. And what you can see is you can trace his ownership of transportation from the very beginning of the war through the end of the war, and how it just was going downhill all the way. So if you've got somebody in the Mexican War in a cavalry unit, or maybe even an officer, because officers rode horses, even if they were in the infantry, you want to see if, and again, we're only talking about volunteers here, we're not talking about regular Army people, and you're from Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, or Texas, one of those cavalry units, you might want to see if there were any horse claims in the name of your ancestor or your person of interest. Again, they're in Record Group 217. They're found in entry 640 and entry 641. There's a register, and then there are the abstracts themselves. Too much fun. Next time I go to the archives, I think I'm going to if I can't find the ones I've already photocopied, I think I'm going to go photograph some so I can add them to my Mexican War talks. So this is Craig. This has been Just Genealogy, and just a quick one on Mexican War horse claims. And the thought that there are also Civil War horse claims if you've got a cavalry person there also. See you tomorrow.